I want you to hit me as hard as you can.
I am at the Stanley Hotel, the famous hotel where Stephen King gave birth to the idea for The Shining. And now it's time for Danny to shine. Again with Dr. Sleep. So I'm here hoping that I don't get haunted or freaked out or otherwise molested by ghosts. And we are going to have a ball here. I'm going to see the film. I'm going to talk to the filmmakers. Again, I'm going to pray not to be fucked with by ghosts. But you never know. It could happen. But tonight we're going to take a look at the ball. We're going to go on tours, a ghost tour, because you want to know where the ghosts are, right? Everybody wants to know where the ghosts are. This is going to be amazing. Come and join me on this journey. If you're scared, I get it. Just come watch anyways. It's good. I'll stab you in the head if you don't come. Come on.
Here's Johnny.
I always called it The Shining.
Published in 1977, author Stephen King's The Shining would later become a worldwide phenomenon, immortalized in director Stanley Kubrick's 1980 film starring Jack Nicholson and Shelley Duvall. 36 years later, King would revisit the Shining universe with a follow-up novel that tracks the life of Danny Torrance, the young boy from The Shining, now grown up and still dealing with the ghosts of his past and the power that resides within him. Some 4 decades after The Shining, the follow-up to the Torrance family saga would conclude on the big screen with Dr. Sleep. In anticipation of this, Warner Brothers invited JOBLO.com out to not only see the film and talk with the director Mike Flanagan, but also to visit the place that started it all, the Stanley Hotel in Estes Park, Colorado, where Stephen King famously stayed and came up with the idea for The Shining, and has been home to not only the 1997 miniseries adaptation, but a long series of ghostly hauntings in itself. And now, I would be staying there, exploring the grounds, including a hedge maze recreation, the multi-storied haunted hallways, attend the annual Shining Halloween costume ball, and, of course, take our own ghost tour, which would reveal more creepy things than I anticipated. Do you dare to go back? The story of the Stanley Hotel began in 1903 when an inventor named Freeland Oscar Stanley, often called F.O., arrived in the Colorado Valley to help with his tuberculosis, discovering that it miraculously restored his health and made him fall in love with the area. Along with his wife, Flora, F.O. decided to build a high-end hotel in Estes Park, which would serve as a stylish escape for city dwellers that would expose them to the magic land. In 1909, the Stanley Hotel opened, a booming, bustling, posh establishment that not only brought in a steady flow of guests, but also helped to usher in improvements all around Estes Park. The hotel began to fade in the 1970s due to declining investment, but a stay from a famous horror author changed everything. Author Stephen King, traveling the area for inspiration on his next book, famously stayed at the Stanley for one night, which was enough to give birth to one of the most famous books, The Shining. The rest, as they say, is history. Okay, so I'm here at the Stanley Hotel now. This is my room, which, as you can see, I don't know if it's haunted or not. I guess we'll find out. I hope not, if I'm being honest with you. I prefer not. But anything could happen. It's the Stanley Hotel. So, cheers. Let's check this place out, man. Here's the bathroom. Here's my small, scary closet door. Yeah. Don't need that.
Give me the bat. Wendy. Give me the bat. Give me the bat. Ah, God damn.
Getting ready for the ball. Going to the Shining Ball. I've got everything that I need. Let's party.
No charge, dear Mr. Torrance.
No charge?
Your money's no good here. Orders from the house.
Jack's a dull boy right now, but about to spice it up with some red rum ale. If you have a bit of a drinking problem, who knows what can happen when I start drinking. The Shining Halloween Costume Ball is an annual event at the Stanley Hotel, which draws in visitors from all over the world. Be it fans of Stephen King, The Shining, ghost enthusiasts, or just folks looking for a fun and inspired Halloween bash, the event leans heavily into the lore of The Shining, with guests dressed up in all manner of costumes from the film, including Jack, Wendy, and Danny Torrance, the Grady twins, Lloyd the bartender, or any of the many haunted guests of the Overlook.
Good evening, Mr. Torrance.
Good evening.
Of course, the event also brings out an inspired musical act, and this year it was the Beatles versus the Rolling Stones, complete with differing eras from the famed bands. Dressed in my Jack Torrance regalia, I stayed in character and surveyed the shenanigans before it was time to retire to my room. But not until I did a little late-night exploring through the hallways. Alright guys, so the ball is now over. And I'm roaming the hallways of the Stanley Hotel. I don't know if there's any ghost sightings or anything in the hallways, but curious.
Come and play with us, Daddy. Forever. forever and ever.
This is my floor. Behind me, this nice creepy elevator. I think that's crazy. Did you hear that? I don't even know if that's a room. There's no room number. Think about that. But there's this. What the fuck is that? If you think you're gonna climb up there, you're fucking crazy. The hedge maze of the fictional Overlook Hotel in Stanley Kubrick's film became an iconic location, even though there was no hedge maze in Stephen King's original novel, which actually featured animal-shaped hedge topiary rather than a maze. However, in keeping with the theme of Kubrick's film, the Stanley Hotel commissioned the building of a hedge maze in 2015, which was created via an open submission contest that received hundreds of entries from around the world. While not even close to the scale of the hedge maze in the film, it serves as a great addition to the shining roots at the hotel, and ends with the statue of F.O. Stanley just center of the main building. Finally, it was time to watch Dr. Sleep, which was held at the historic Park Theater and Cafe, the oldest operating single-house movie theater in the United States, which, you guessed it, was also a known haunted location. Director Mike Flanagan was in attendance and gave a brief introduction before the screening, talking about his own history with the Stanley Hotel and its significance in his own career.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys so much for being out here tonight. Wow, I can't tell you what an honor it is to be able to show this movie in this theater. My history with Estes Park and with the Stanley Hotel actually goes back all the way to the beginning of my career. At the other theater just up the street, while staying at the Stanley Hotel, my producer, Trevor Macy, we screened Oculus for one of the very first audiences in the United States right up the street, and my career really started there. So to be back here with this movie is really wonderful. Another kind of amazing thing about the Stanley for me, you know, aside from, of course, its incredible history in respect to The Shining and to Stephen King, my wife, Kate Siegel, who's also here sitting in the middle there. Hi, sweetie. Years ago, before we were married, we came out here. I had fallen in such love with the Stanley when I was here with Oculus that we came out for a week just on vacation together, and we wrote a movie at the bar. And the movie we wrote was Hush, And we even named a character, thank you. We even named a character, Michael Trucco's character, at the end of the movie. We wrote his whole scene at the bar of the Stanley Hotel, which is why when he introduces himself and holds up his ID, he says his name is John Stanley, all named for the hotel. So this is a very, very special place in my heart. It is, of course, for Stephen King fans and for constant readers, it is, you know, Mecca in a lot of ways when it comes to The Shining. So it has been a very humbling experience for me to be able to step into the universe of The Shining at all, much less to be, you know, trusted with a legacy so powerful, you know, as this film that you're going to see. So I really hope you guys enjoy it. I want to hear what you have to say about it. This has been a really amazing experience, and I'm just so psyched. I'm going to sit and watch a movie with you guys. I'm really excited to do that. So please enjoy Dr. Sleep, and I'll talk to you guys after the movie. Thanks so much for being here. Thank you.
When I was a kid, there was a place. A dark place. They closed it down and let it rot. But the things that lived there,
Hello, Danny.
they come back.
All right, folks, well, again, my name is Frankie. I'm gonna be your tour guide. You're totally stuck with me. We're not gonna go through the door on the other side. That takes you to the scariest place on property. That's the employee break room. So, watch your head, Paul.
Okay.
All right, folks, so welcome to the employee access tunnel. Yeah, we still use this. This used to be the entire basement floor here. There used to be multiple tunnels that did connect some of these buildings because when this hotel was built, a lot of the employees here were to be seen and not heard, of course. So this is a good area to see that we actually have a free floating foundation. So with that being said, these are the original support beams here. They're just sitting right on top of the mountain. They didn't use dynamite to level anything off, you know, start building from something flat. Nope, they literally just set this right on top of the mountain. You guys have seen The Shining, yeah?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So you may remember Dick Halloran describing the Overlook Hotel to Danny Torrance in Stanley Kubrick's film. He says, when something happens, it can leave a trace of itself behind. I think a lot of things have happened right here in this particular hotel over the years. Obviously, that's a pretty fitting description for the Overlook, and it's also a great descriptor of the Stanley Hotel here. Our hotel is 110 years old. That's a lot of history, but before the hotel was ever here, this was just one vast area where the Utes and the Arapaho tribes, they were nomadic. They came through here often. Then, of course, the trappers and hunters came through here, and then patients seeking alleviation for their conditions came for the high altitude and the dry air. In our 110-year history, we have a pretty good idea of who spent their time here, and we can actually associate a lot of the spiritual activity to specific individuals. So do me a favor, guys, as we go along, be mindful of your surroundings. Be mindful of what you see, what you feel, what you hear, because a lot of these spirits are listening into their very own stories, and they like to let us know when they're around. So if you experience anything specific, please let me know, because we might have a pretty good idea of who it is. Oh, so something about Dr. Sleep that I actually want to relate to the hotel here has to do with this space. Some of you guys might have noticed some of these rocks here are just kind of hanging out, floating by themselves. And the story is pretty similar to the story of our hotel, but I'm gonna have to explain the rocks down here in order to get my point across. So a lot of people, when they come down here, they like to take rocks home with them as souvenirs. And if you guys want to do that, feel free. We just recommend that you write down our address here at the Stanley, because we do get these rocks back in the mail. I'm not even kidding you guys. Actually, we got 6 in the mail last month, and they all come with letters that start the same way. They start, "Hi, please put this rock back. Ever since we took it home, we've had bad luck, nightmares, hauntings. We've seen shadow figures, things like that." So at your discretion, guys. But if you take one of these home, the reason why we believe that they have so much they're conductors for paranormal activity is because a lot of the rocks down here are comprised of quartz, and there's actually a paranormal theory that quartz absorbs energy and can only absorb so much energy before it needs to release that energy. And when it does, it rises up into this hotel right above our heads. I'm gonna actually take us to our next stop, which is the most paranormally active building on property. That's our concert hall. That's where all the fun stuff happens. And it's a way where, you know, things without energy can tap into this device in order to communicate with us. So she set it in here just to get to the bottom of why there was so much activity in here, and just asked to the open air, "Hi, am I speaking with anyone?" That's when she heard the response, "Lucy." She said, "Hi, Lucy, nice to meet you. How old are you?" Now, she actually did not get a response, which me personally, I think that's because you never ask a lady her age. So she started to guess, and she said, "Are you 15 to 20? That's when she heard yes. She said, "Where are you from?" She heard 70. Obviously, she was confused by this until she asked, "Oh, you mean the 1970s? Then she heard yes. And if you guys remember me telling you, this building was actually condemned during the 1970s, and it wasn't uncommon for us to have squatters both here and in the main lobby during the 60s and 70s. So we think that just maybe why she is here, why she has an affinity to this space, and why she's sticking around. Now, her origins and her story do remain a mystery, but we have a lot of people investigate her, and they seem to agree that she has a trigger object. That is this door right here. A trigger object is something that a spirit uses to manipulate and let us know that they're here. So if you want, guys, I can move this brick and we can No. Seriously, this door has a mind of its own. We have a brick here stopping it because you never know what this door is going to do. I've taken people on these tours where this door doesn't want to move. Sometimes you can't keep it open, it only wants to shut. So if you guys want, we can go and, yeah, let's do it. All right, hey Lucy, are you hanging out with us? We gotta leave soon. Oh, there we go, it's closing. Oh, no.
Slow, ever so slow.
Oh,
It's a good creak.
there we go. That's, I'm so glad we got that too. Sometimes I take people on these tours and nothing happens, so yeah, we definitely have some energy here.
We love Lucy.
It's just a door. If you guys want to come inspect it, feel free. People always accuse us of lying. They think there's like a remote involved or something. Yeah, again, like we're not here to trick you, right? So I'll go ahead and leave it open. Lucy, we'll go ahead and get out of here if you want. Or do you want us to stay? All right, Lucy, we're gonna go ahead and leave the building, but keep those ears open because you may hear this door close. Oh.
Can I make a video here?
Yeah.
You want some of us to say?
Right, apparently.
And this is where Stephen King approaches Lloyd Grady, slaps the 20 down on the bar and asks, "Hey man, what's this gonna give me?" That's when Lloyd says one of the most famous lines from the movie, and I'm sure you all know it.
Your money is not good here?
Absolutely. He says that to Stephen King. But the reason why he said this, not to be creepy or ominous or weird or anything, because again, guys, it was the last day of our season. He had already packed up all of his drinks, put everything away, put away his tills, even done all of his taxes at this point. So he wasn't just gonna open everything up for some lousy $20, but he said, "Hey man, I know who you are, you're an author. Why don't we hang out, tell some stories, and just drink some drinks from my personal bottle of scotch?" That's exactly what they do. And that's when Lloyd tells Stephen King some of the same stories I'm telling you guys. He knew this place pretty well, inside and out. He says he'll go to rooms, turn off all the lights, lock things up, leave, turn around to find all those lights are right back on. He makes his way back into this room, and no one's here. He says it's like there's a party that never ends, which does make its way back into the book, which is pretty cool. Stephen King, he decides to, after having this conversation, go back up to his room to retire. But before doing so, he actually sees this on the wall. This is a good example because the one in 217 doesn't look like this, but this is our old fire suppression system. He sees this, and something about this just unsettles him. There's like a white canvas hose attached to it, but he didn't dwell on that. He decided to instead go to bed, and that's when he wakes up in the middle of the night to the sound of his son screaming in the hallway. So he jumps out of bed, he runs to the door, throws open the door, but he's frozen in fear. He can't move. He watches as this hose has taken life. It's chasing his son up and down the hallway like a snake, wraps itself around him, and right before it squeezes the life out of his little body, he wakes up. Right? He was having a nightmare. So he said it was within an inch of falling off the bed. To calm his nerves, he decided to smoke a cigarette on the balcony of 217, and he said by the end of that cigarette, he had the entire skeleton to his novel planned out in his mind. The beginning, middle, and end to The Shining. So, I'm sure you found it. That is our infamous room 217. Again, I want to touch on the freak accident that had occurred there on a dark and stormy night in 1911. No, it was dark and stormy. You see, a storm had come through town, and it had essentially knocked the power out at the hotel. Which, guys, when we were first built, we were a fully electric hotel, which was a big deal. Actually, we were the first fully electric hotel this side of the Mississippi. So to accomplish this, they decided to build a hydroelectric power plant to power this place, but it was prone to fail should there be a large enough storm. That's exactly what happened this night. And so when the hotel was left in the dark, the Stanleys decided to take their guests over to the concert hall and entertain them by candlelight for some impromptu entertainment. They sent all the chambermaids up to each individual room to light the backup acetylene gas lamps. And the only person with the keys to our presidential room would have been Miss Elizabeth Wilson. When she went to the presidential room, it's not how it is today. It's broken up into these separate rooms. It used to be one large suite, but today it's rooms 213, 215, 217, and 219. So it's a massive room. And she had no way of knowing when she approached this room with a lit candle in hand that there had actually been a gas leak building up in this room for nearly 24 hours. So she doesn't even make it to the door. Boom. The resulting explosion was so massive, we actually lost 10% of our hotel. There wasn't really that much fire damage either because the force of the explosion extinguished all those flames. We were picking up pieces of the hotel off the mountain across from us. That's Prospect Mountain, that's a 1.5 miles away. Yeah, so where do you guys think they found Miss Wilson?
Didn't.
Trick question. No, so she actually came rocketing through the floor. She landed on her feet with what was left of the hotel coming crumbling down on top of her. F.O. Stanley and a few volunteers dug her out. It took them almost 45 minutes to do so, and when they did, she was still alive. Yeah, what we think saved her life was actually the fashion of the day. She was wearing a whalebone corset. We think that protected her vital organs and saved her spine from snapping. So she was rushed down to a hospital. When I say rushed, she was actually thrown in the back of one of those Stanley steam cars. They took almost 45 minutes to start one of those, and the nearest hospital was over 3 hours away. So by the time she got there, she ended up falling into a coma. And this entire time, F.O. Stanley and Flora Stanley had been right by her side. She woke up from that coma 3 days later with them still there, and they said they would take care of everything for her. They said they would pay all of her bills and take care of her for the rest of their life, and they intended to do so. So 18 months later, guys, she's fully recovered. She actually only had a limp to show for the entire ordeal. She makes her way to our front desk downstairs, where a gentleman is instructed to give her an envelope full of money and a key to become a permanent guest here at the hotel. But guys, she didn't want it. She slid it right back. You know what she wanted?
To work.
Exactly. Exactly. She came back here to work, and that's exactly what she did. She worked here from opening day through the teens, through the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, up until 1951, when she clocked out for the last time. Now, no one was surprised to see her the next day until they found out that she had actually passed away in her sleep the night before. She's one of our first bona fide haunts of the hotel here. There are actually multiple coworkers of hers who claimed to have a conversation with her, 2 of which spoke with her at the time clock, and they said it was so vivid, they ended up quitting on the spot when they found out she had passed away. And she's obviously a very tenacious woman. We think that she is still taking care of these rooms, which might explain a little bit of the odd phenomenon happening just right around the corner here.
Okay, so I'm now here out front of the room 217, the infamous room where Stephen King stayed and came up with the inspiration after a nightmare to write The Shining. So if you look right behind me right there, that is room 217. I believe it is occupied right now, and tours have been going through all night, including ours, and I'm sure that they probably want to fuck with us a little bit, but that's it. That's the room. That's the infamous room. Just kidding. So I was getting a little tired. I was gonna come here to my room, 4:15, and I was gonna get some sleep. Probably not sleep, just rest. But behind me, this is a ghost tour So they're just walking around talking about ghosts next to the doors of people trying to relax, but around the corner there are people that are trying to contact ghosts. I'm gonna peek around and show you. Super not creepy at all. And with that, it was time to check out of the Stanley Hotel, one of the most interesting and distinct hotels I'd ever stayed in, and surely one I'd never forget. There's an undeniable sense of supernatural within the halls of this long-standing structure, which no doubt harkens to not only the history, but also the intense appeal given Stephen King's The Shining and now Dr. Sleep. And while I had seen and felt the aura of the mysterious, did I actually have any ghostly experiences? So, I don't really have much experience with paranormal things. I've had a few weird occurrences throughout my life that I can't explain, but not for years, decades, in fact. So, going to this ghost tour yesterday, we started walking towards the music hall, and it was just one of those moments, everybody's walking as a group, they're just kind of talking amongst themselves, we're kind of nervously laughing, not really thinking anything, and I look towards the music hall as we're walking towards it. And I can see the glass windows, and I can actually see the dance floor and everything in there. And I see a bunch of people in there dancing. So I'm like, what? Like in my head, I'm like, are we gonna go disrupt these people while they're dancing or whatever they're doing? That was what was in my head. And as we got closer and closer to the doors, there's nobody there. No. There's nobody inside there. And I'm thinking, did I just imagine that? Because nobody else is saying anything. Nobody's like, oh, did you see those people? Nobody's even thinking about it. And the guide buzzes the door. We walk in, and there's nobody there. Nobody went downstairs. Nobody went anywhere. So that was like one of those weird things where I'm like, either I hallucinated or I literally just saw a bunch of people dancing on the dance floor, like ballroom style dancing, or I'm just crazy. Yeah, I'm probably crazy, a little bit crazy, but that happened. So there. Don't go to the ballroom.
And they've noticed that little girl.
Wow, hi there.
Get out of my head! Get out!
I haven't felt power like that in so long.
They're coming. Where are we going?
There's a place. You sure you want to do this?
I'm ready.
Yes, you run, dear. And then I will find you, and you will scream for years.
Come and play with us forever